been a while since I did this for me. I've been in hiding, hid myself away from me. This rain cloud has been hovering over me, but I think it's time he leaves. I think it's time he leaves, 'cause I've been working on myself and getting better. Drinking water with the lemon and some fresh air. Mix me plenty on my list. I'm popping. These girls don't stand a chance of stopping. Because I'ma reach it to the top. Over caffeinated, yeah, never stop. But you were praying I was gonna be a flop. Well, watch me gon' do me. So cameras fresh and pretty. Glimmer as I walk on by. Just from head to toe. Eyes on me on the spotlight. Diamonds, they're so shining. Got me drifting icy white. Flick my head, ain't got no care as I walk away. You got me hooked, baby. Yeah, you're my fantasy. You got the look, baby. Yeah, you're the one for me. You got me shook, baby. Took time for me to see, but you're the one for me. Yeah, you're my fantasy. Look at me now. I'm the blueprint for your bounce back. All these other biddies, man, 'cause they ain't that. Looking in the mirror like, damn, who's she? That's me, gas them. Hey, you should've done, I did it. Making money moves 'cause I spend it, so I win it. Keep my circle tight, yeah, they push me to my limits. Praying every single night 'cause I'll be dead if I forget it. Thank you, Lord. You're coming at me with your chitty chat chat. We ain't down for all that, yeah, jump.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. So great to see everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And welcome to the first segment in our new series, Power Talks, presented by our partners, Kerastase. We're so excited to have you all here today. I'd like to recognize everyone here who is experiencing Step Up for the first time or the first time in a while. We're so excited to have you with us. So welcome. Tell us where you're tuning in from in the chat. We look forward to getting to know you more along the way. So first, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Jess Mara. I'm the manager of Young Adult Programs here at Step Up, and I am tuning in from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sophia. I am the director of Young Adult Programs, and I'm tuning in from LAX today. Couldn't miss this, so happy to be here. Before we officially get started, I'd love to share a few friendly reminders. We ask that everyone take a moment and adjust their display name to reflect three things: your name, your role, and the pronouns that you use. It's especially important to put your roles, so young adult if you are 18 to 29, or mentor, so that we can sort you into the right breakout groups later. We'd also love if everyone who is able to turn your cameras on to please do so. We'd love to see your beautiful faces, and it makes us feel like we're all together, even though we're not physically together in person. All participants' mics will be on mute until we go into our breakout sessions. So feel free to add your positive comments and reactions in the chat box at the bottom of your screen. I see a lot of action going on in there. Also, as a reminder, we will be recording this session to share out with folks who weren't able to be here today. Additionally, if you need anything at all throughout the event, you can feel free to message Juliet in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sophia. And thank you to Kerastase for your leadership in supporting and launching Power Talk. So excited. So Kerastase is the world's leading luxury professional hair care brand. Since 1964, the brand has been offering exquisite products and bespoke in-salon treatments, all powered by scientific expertise and professional knowledge. It is now present in more than 60 countries with a community of about 150,000 hairdressers. Kerastase adopts a care-first philosophy that extends beyond its products to care for all types and all individuals, as well as the world we live in. And you can visit their website to learn more about them. So through our partnership, we aim to ensure more young women have the confidence to define and achieve success on their own terms. So let's thank Kerastase again in the chat for believing in the power of mentorship and partnering with us to make this happen today. Thank you so much, Kerastase. So a little bit about what to expect. Our hope for our time together is that you all learn how to identify what your values are, what you're looking for in a career and a workplace, and what value you bring to the table. So how to identify and receive feedback from the right people to understand and establish all those things. We will start with a quick icebreaker game, then hear from our topic expert, Tiana Maria Doxwell. Tiana will share a bit about her story and share some tips and tricks to defining who you are and what you want, need, and have to offer. You'll then have the opportunity to discuss strength statements and receiving good and bad feedback in small groups during our mentorship breakout sessions. Mentors, your role today is to model participation by having your cameras on, being present, engaging in the chat, completing the self-reflection exercises that we'll go through together, and imparting words of encouragement, solidarity, and support during our breakout sessions. All right, so Hollis, will you lead us through our icebreaker game?
Absolutely. So as we prepare to talk a little bit about what you desire in a work environment, let's just play a game of this or that in the chat. So first, do you prefer a remote work environment or an office setting? Put it in the chat. I know for me, I'm a remote girl. Okay, I'm seeing AAB remote. Oh, it's okay, definitely remote. Okay, it's a mix. It's a mix. All right. Next up, would you prefer having to wake up early and start your day and then in the day early, or do you want to have a late start and go later into the day? Let's see what the chat is saying. We've got early bird. What else? I love definitely early. There's lots of earlies. Wait, no, I'm seeing a late start for sure. An early bird gets the worm, but who wants worms? I want chicken wings. Okay. All right. Next one. Would you prefer a job where you have to travel a lot? And sometimes to different places that are really exciting, or do you want to consistently be at home with your family, grounded, folks you love? Let's see, I'm seeing A, okay, I'm seeing more A's than B's, so folks want to bounce around. Someone said, I used to travel a lot, but now I'm B, a mix. I like this, some travel, a little bit of travel. Yeah, I'm all about the travel. All right, let's go to our next one. So would you prefer a job where that requires you to work alone? So that's A, you're kind of taking on projects by yourself, or would you like a job where the majority of your work is team-based? So you're doing teamwork. Yes, I feel the same way, Mickey. Teamwork makes the dream work. Absolutely. Someone said I need guidance. So B. Yes, we love that. Oh my gosh, this has been so fun, everybody. Thank you so much for jumping in on this one. And I'm going to turn things back over to Jasmara. Thanks for sharing, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hollis. And thank you all for being so engaged in the chat. I can already tell this is going to be a really exciting session. So before introducing our speaker, I would like to take a moment to thank all of our mentors for being here. Our mentorship moment is an invaluable part of our programs, and we greatly appreciate you taking the time out of your workday to impart wisdom and connect with our young adults. We have so many inspiring mentors scheduled to join us today. You're seeing just a few of them on your screen. So can we give a warm welcome in the chat to all of our mentors who have taken time out of their workdays to be here with us today. Thank you all so much. Now for our speaker, I'm so excited to introduce our topic expert this afternoon, Tiana Maria Doxwell. A little bit about Tiana. Tiana fell in love with the beauty industry at the age of 14 while working in a hair salon, assisting a top L'Oreal educator. It was at that time she knew she was destined to continue down a path in the professional hair industry and become a licensed cosmetologist several years later. At the age of 18, she moved to New York City to pursue her second passion in the fashion industry while working full-time behind the chair. Coming from a single-parent household, Tiana utilized her skills in hairdressing to finance her degree in advertising and marketing communications from the Fashion Institute of Technology. So cool. Throughout her career, she has worked with pro hair brands such as Matrix, Moroccan Oil, Kerastase, and Shu Iamura, leading teams and traveling to over 30 countries, sharing her passion for professional hairdressing. I mean, how exciting is it? I know some of you all know those brands like I do, or probably even have those brands in your bathrooms right now. How exciting is it to have Tiana here with us? Let's please give her a warm welcome, and I'm going to turn it over to Tiana. Thank you so much for being here, Tiana.
Awesome. Well, hello, everyone. First, Jasmira, thank you so much for the beautiful introduction. What I wanted to open up with was just sharing truly how honored and how humbled I am that I was asked to be part of this amazing series. What I wanted to also do was really take some time in the beginning that we have together and introduce myself a bit more. I always think it's so interesting when you have the opportunity to see somebody's bio and you read, 4 sentences, 5 sentences. And there's an opportunity that I always look at that I call fill in the gaps, right? You're like, okay, yes, this is great. And this person was able to build this roadmap and this career for themselves. And this is the journey that they had. But what are those gaps that they're not sharing? What are those moments that they had unique learning opportunities, that they perhaps had some trials, some tribulations, some moments that helped to cascade them on the journey that brought them where they are today? So my goal is that we spend some time having a personal share out to get to share a bit more about myself and fill in the gaps for everyone. Additionally, Jasmira, as you had shared, we're going to be spending some additional time going into some activities with one another. We'll go into some activities on mindset, talk about feedback, giving feedback, receiving feedback, some moments of self-reflection, which I think is such a unique and beautiful opportunity to really dive deep and discover more about yourself. Then from there, what I had wanted to do was actually open it up, right? So that is what we have planned and some of the activities that I have planned for everyone. But this is your time. So under that theme of career advancement, of career growth, of feedback, of mindset, I would just love for everyone just to take maybe 10 seconds, drop into the chat. What else would you like to hear more about today? Because we can guide that time. And I could focus perhaps a little bit more on some of those topics. So I'm going to ask you guys to drop some of those areas where you'd love to focus a little bit more of the time into the chat. And I'll take a look and can read them out loud. And I see we have some Moroccan oil lovers in here, some Kerastase lovers, some Elixir team. Awesome, thank you so much, Kimberly. So I see we have guiding mantras. Yes, I love a good mantra. Daily mindset routines, that is something that is very near and dear to my heart. So I'm happy to share a little bit more about that. Let's see, what else do we have in the chat? Awesome, so current challenges. What does that look like within the beauty industry and how does that look for a young innovator coming in? Awesome, I see some comments about feedback as well. So amazing, awesome. So thank you. One, I am so pumped with how participatory this group is. So I love that. So keep dropping anything into the chat. Really, I think what makes these moments exciting is it's a dialogue. It's an opportunity for us to have a conversation. So I will switch gears and kind of jump back into the overview of the presentation and what it is that I had wanted to share out. Perfect. So what I want to do is start with actually, if we go back to the previous slide. Awesome, thank you. Share a little bit more about that activity that I call the filling in the gaps, right? So Jasmira did a beautiful job of sharing my story. But what I think is so important when we're talking about career advancement and career planning is really understanding your values, understanding where you came from, understanding what is important to you and how that will help shape your future and guide you into creating that career that you have always dreamed of. So more about me. I am born and raised on Long Island, New York. I come from a family of 3. I have 3 siblings. I am the oldest. I also come from a single parent household. So reason that I share that with you is very, very early on, I learned the importance of teamwork. I am the oldest of four kids, so I had lots of responsibilities when it comes to babysitting, when it came to supporting and really contributing. So teamwork was always super, super important and a really key value within my household. Responsibility was also another really, really key moment that was something that helped to define what is important to me. When I share that moment about, growing up in a household with a single mom, what I can share was we had many, many moments that were amazing, but we also had many moments where there were some trials and tribulations. You know, when I think back to key moments in my life, I can recall some moments. I think I was in the 3rd grade, and my mom picked me up after school one day, and this became not more often than not, but occasionally. She picked me up from school and we got in the car, and she said, "You know what? We're going to go home today. And how do you feel about doing candlelight at candlelight dinner? And we're going to have homework by candlelight. And you know what? Let's do bath time by candlelight." So the young version of me was able to read between the lines, and I said, "I don't think we have the electric on today," right? So I share that moment because I think that was a critical piece where I think back at another value that defined me, which was the power of positivity within that household, and the power to say, okay, here's a situation that may not be ideal, but how do we take this and how do we turn it around? And the course of my life, we had several moments where we would have dinner by candlelight, and it actually became a fun routine that we would love to do together as a family bonding. But additionally, so if we, fast forward, a couple of years later, I had the opportunity to start my career and start, planning. Okay, where do I want to take my career? Where do I want to take my journey? What is it that I'm good at? I actually had the opportunity to meet an amazing woman, another fill in the gap moment. So I focused on that career in hairdressing when I was 14. However, when I was 13, I had my first job. I was working the cash register at a deli. And what I'll always remember was I was never good at math. And that's something that I know in terms of skill set. That was not my area of strength, but I had to count that cash at the time. And there was a woman that would always come in, and I would, ring her up and I'd give her back her cash. And she was so cool. She had an edgy haircut, hot pink pops, really, really fun, funky bangs. And I just thought, wow, she is so cool. I wonder what she does. One day when I was ringing her up and checking her out, she opened up a conversation with me. And she shared that she's a hairdresser, that she actually owns her own salon, but she would love the opportunity, if I was interested, for me to come and assist her, learn more about the industry. So that was a key moment that I used to say, you know what, let me take this opportunity that presented itself. I connected with her. I said farewell to my job at the deli, and I actually entered into the beautiful world of the beauty industry, the hair industry. I spent several years working with her, being guided, mentored, coached. What really stood out was the power of mentorship, the power of being coached and also being coachable. She was an amazing mentor that, taught me an incredible amount about the beauty industry and really set that fire, set that passion. I then focused my career, on what are some additional values that are important to me. Coming from the household and the environment that I did, growing up, what was really key was getting a degree. And at the time I was in the mindset of, I really want to get a college degree. I don't know if I'll necessarily do anything with it because I love everything about the beauty industry. I love working behind the chair. I love the clients. I love being in the salon. But it was an opportunity for me to focus on developing a skill set, and really take something that would be personal for just myself. At the time I applied to the Fashion Institute of Technology. I did get accepted, moved to New York, did my full 4 years, my college degree. And towards the end, I thought, you know what, this has been an amazing experience. I have my degree, check. I can put this in my back pocket. But I love the beauty industry, and I love my clients, and I love working behind the chair. So let me go back to that space. I graduated and interned with Matrix. Matrix is another brand under the L'Oreal portfolio, which was a really unique opportunity for me to build a connection and understand this world of corporate. Through that internship, it was a 12-month internship. I had the opportunity to make so many connected. and I thought, yes, I have my degree in advertising and marketing communications. I got this. I'm going to go in and I'm going to sell myself as a marketeer. And within the first 10 minutes of my interview, the woman that was interviewing me said, hey, you know what? I see what's really unique. You're a hairdresser. You have a background and expertise in hairdressing. Have you ever thought about education instead of marketing? And, you know, at the time, you don't know, right? So I said, you know, I tell me more. What does that look like? At that moment, she actually connected me with the head of education who explained more about these roles that fall under education that provide opportunities that were very much in line with core values that I had. Opportunities to travel, opportunities to train, opportunities to build relationships, build connections. And these are all pieces that throughout my life so far, I knew that I liked and that resonated with me. Ultimately, that led to an amazing path and an amazing career that I had, being able to work at Matrix on the L'Oreal and the Matrix brand. And then also continue to grow my career. You know, through that time, I think what was most important and a big piece of advice was I always said yes. If there was a project, if there was an opportunity, if there was a meeting that I could invite myself to say, can I sit in so I can learn more about this? I took advantage of all those opportunities. And I think those are those key moments that let you shape and craft and build that career, because now you have the knowledge, you have the know-how, and you build some of that skill set to say, okay, I never knew this existed. You know, just to fast forward, and we'll continue in with the presentation, you know, really from that point, I had the opportunity to work over the course of the industry with several brands, obviously with starting my career on Matrix, then being able to transition. I worked at Moroccan Oil for several years, heading up their global education. You know, another key lesson that I had learned there, I think at the time that I went for that interview, I was 25, and I thought, you know, hey, this is an opportunity for a very big job. And the first thought that came into my head was, what if you're not prepared? What if you're not equipped? What if you don't have the right skill set, right? And I'm sure how many of you can relate to those little what if voices that pop up, right? When you're talking about career and advancement and creating this future, right? And I had this moment, and what I'm super thankful for are the mentors that I had in my life at that time that said, okay, you're telling me what if you can't? Tell me what if you can? What if you can be amazing and super successful in this role at that age of 25? What if you can lead a team of 10, 15, 20 people? What if you can do it? Why are you focusing on the what you can't do? Let's focus on the pieces that you can do, right? And I think that's a key moment that always stood out, which really we'll get into that, which focused on that mindset. Ultimately, you know, from that career standpoint, I had the opportunity then to come back, be part of the L'Oreal family. I've been with both Kérastase and Shiimura for about 7.5 years. The brands are absolutely amazing, and so far it's been a really unique career. But what I look back was the importance of those building blocks that got me to where I am. And those key lessons, those key values, those key moments of self-reflection that allowed me to learn, to grow, and to really be that better version of myself. So that being said, we can advance to the next slide. And what I wanted to jump in and talk a little bit about was mindset. You know, I shared a couple of minutes ago, those little voices that constantly pop up in our head, right? And honestly, this is a very, very safe space, I know, so I'm sharing. These are all actual thoughts that I personally have had in the past, and you know what, I will still have. You know, you always have that piece that will come up that will say, okay, well, what if they say no? What if I fail? What if they don't like me? What if I'm too, you fill in the blank? What if I'm not blank enough, right? And I think when we're looking at our career and shaping our career, we have this little voice that will pop in. What's super important is to really focus on the mindset, right? And you can also look at those in those key moments saying, okay, what if it doesn't work? Oh, what if it does work? What if I can change my mindset, change the approach, change the lens that I'm seeing the situation through? And that becomes this jumping off point for my career advancement. So I just wanted to share that little segment about mindset. We'll advance to the next slide. Awesome. Another key moment that I did want to take some time to really dive in a bit deeper is the importance of self-reflection. So How many of you, if you want to drop into the chat, currently have some type of ritual, some type of practice, whether that is daily, monthly, weekly, occasionally, that you hold space for yourself to enter into self-reflection? Let me see, I'm just gonna have you drop into the chat. Yes, awesome, I see some dailies. I see every day. I'm impressed. I have a little one at home, so unfortunately I can't do that every day. Daily, every morning, monthly, awesome. Awesome, so you know, which is amazing, the importance of self-reflection, right? And you know, when I have the opportunity to reflect back on my career and reflect back on some of those moments, I think what creates that beautiful journey and that really rewarding journey is by holding that space to say, okay, who am I today? Doesn't mean that is who I will be tomorrow. I can learn, I can grow, I can change, I can shape who I am to really be able to better understand what it is that I want. You know, as you see on the screen, these are just a couple of examples of daily quotes that I love. You know, until you take the journey of self-reflection, it is almost impossible to grow or learn in life, which I believe to be very, very true. You know, ultimately, we'll use this as a jump off point to go into our first exercise and activity. So if we advance the next slide and really talk a little bit more about self-reflection through the lens of personal values. So as I shared before, I planned on getting very personal and sharing as much as I can about my personal space, about my professional space, about who I am and the journey that I have. And what has always been extremely, extremely important to me has been family. So I wanted to share my family with you. You know, two younger brothers. You know, as you can see that I come from a very diverse family, which is something that I hold very near and dear, and it is a true value that I have. You know, as I shared before as well, really a key value that is really been installed with me within my family is leadership. It is grit. It is, okay, how do we take what we have as our situation? How do we change it? How do we move? How do we grow? How do we make it better? And those are core values that are super important that translate into both my personal and professional space. The next picture that we're looking at is a picture of my husband and I on our wedding day. What you can see there is we were walking down the aisle, and you know, when I think back and I think about that relationship that I have with my husband, it is all about authenticity. It's about dependability. It's about grace. You know, the last two pictures that I can share on the right is I am a proud mom of a 1.5-year-old toddler. His name is Stevie. And that other little picture that you see there is I'm Stevie. And that other little picture that you see there is I'm pregnant and expecting. It's about flexibility. It's about creativity. It is about having fun. You know, I had wanted to share a little bit of an overview of these values, and then we'll jump into the next activity and really bring it together. How do these personal values show up I like to call it. And it's this idea that what you have happening in a personal space, what you have happening in a professional space, they integrate with one another. And they are really the core values that set you up for success to build that dream career, right? And when you don't look at it through the lens of this and that, but this and that, and how do they come together, then you're able to craft and really create that unique career journey for yourself. So we advance to the next slide. What we want to do was jump into a really fun activity. So you see all of these words that we have right here on the screen. What we wanted to do was open it up, and we're going to give everyone about 2 minutes. There'll be some background music that's going to play. Each of these words associates to a core value, associates to a bigger, you know, a bigger pillar of identifying what it is that's important to you. You know, I think when we have these open discussions and we say, okay, how are we building our career? How are we advancing our career? It becomes this gigantic piece of paper, right? versus how do we drill down and say, okay, what's important to me? What brings me joy? What brings me fulfillment? So what we want you to do is take 2 minutes once the music starts, write down each of the numbers that you resonate with. So for example, if growth is something that's important to you, I'm going to write down a number 3, and I'm going to write down growth. If grace is something that's important to you, I'm going to write down number 15. I'm going to write down grace. So we're going to give you 2 minutes for this activity, and then we're going to come back and we'll have some share outs.
Hey everyone, we're going to give a few more minutes to write down some of those values while Tiana calls in. I know we've been missing parts of her story. I want to make sure that we get everything that she's saying. So give us a few more minutes. Sophie, if you can run that music back one more time so that Tiana can call in. Thank you so much.
Perfect. So let's see if the audio, send me a message, let me know if the audio is changed or adjusted. And if not, I will troubleshoot and try one other thing on the next break. But what we want to do is take the opportunity to jump back into the activity and the exercise when we can talk a little bit more about how do you build those core values and what does that look like? So what we want you to do is now take a look at the list that you created. How many of those that you have that are on your list fall within these specific categories, right? So for example, when I went through and did the same activity, I noticed that I had a lot of numbers between 1 and 6. And really what was important to me was identifying that, these truly fall under that theme of achievement, fall under that theme of accomplishment. Ultimately, I think when we're talking about building our career and creating that space, are we focusing on working in industries? Are we focusing on working with companies that truly have that same core value that falls under achievement, that falls under accomplishment? I would love to invite some of you to share as well. What are some of the pieces that came up for you doing this exercise? What are some of those themes that popped up for everyone? We could drop them into the chat. Enthusiasm. I love it. It's got the exclamation as well. Achievement and accomplishment. Yeah, that was a big one for me as well. Health and harmony, unity, order, stability. I can absolutely relate to that. Spirituality. Yep, I've had that one on my list as well. Creativity, together, unity, peace, structure. Ooh, feelings and mindset. That is a huge one. Optimism, respect. Awesome. So I'll let you keep dropping those pieces into the chat. But I wanted to, really just ground us in this first exercise and activity. Utilize this as a tool for a moment of reflection. Go through and have the opportunity to identify what are the core values that you have? What do they ultimately mean in terms of a category, and how does that resonate with you? And then how does that translate to your career? Are you looking at building your career within an industry that supports these as core values so that you can get that incredible amount of fulfillment? Are you looking at a company that supports these core values? And it's an amazing tool that you can use to really be able to craft that story for yourself. So if we advance to the next slide, we are going to now jump in and spend some time talking about another element that I love, which is about forming strength. The idea of forming a strength statement. This is a beautiful quote that is on there. Never trust your fears. They don't know your strengths. And I've seen that several times before. And I think that's something that personally resonates to be so incredibly true. I think it's easy to focus on those fears. It's a bit harder to focus on those strengths. But once you switch that mindset and that mind shift, and you focus on your strengths, you become much more powerful, much more intact with what you're good at, what brings you joy, where do you want to grow and develop? And that is truly where you're going to flourish. So if you advance to the next slide, we wanted to talk a little bit about how do you identify your strengths, right? As we're going through and identifying our strengths, I think sometimes it's a concept that can seem easy, but can feel a little uncomfortable, right? I know I've personally had this where I'm like, oh, geez, I feel like I'm going through and I feel like I'm boasting, saying, yes, this is what I'm great at. This is what I'm great at. How do you really be able to tune in and hold that space to say, okay, this is what I'm good at. And this is why I'm going to choose a career that relates to this. This is why I'm going to focus on prepping myself for an interview question so that I can show up and really showcase this is a unique skill set that I personally have. And this is why I'm a really great fit for this role. A couple of thought starters that I personally love. Talk with your friends and your family. What do they have to say? I think when you have those moments of self-reflection, you also realize that you have a perceived value of how you see yourself. What you aren't able to experience is how do others see you? How do they interact with you? So ask your friends, ask your family, have them come back to you and share what are strengths that they see within you, and then really add that to your list. You may have some amazing ahas. The second, identify and acknowledge your personal weakness. This is an exercise that I've done in the past and I absolutely love. It's going through and actually dividing a sheet of paper into two columns. On one side, I will write down what are the things that I don't enjoy? What are the things that I don't find value in, I don't find pleasure in, that I would consider as a weakness, right? On the next side of that paper, I will write what it is that I have as an actual strength. What is the opposite? And through that, as a very simple exercise, you can then start to craft and define, okay, if I know where perhaps I'm not passionate, where I'm not as strong, where am I really strong? And what are those elements that give me a unique point of difference? The third is there are many, many different applications available online for a strength finder test. So definitely go in, dive in, lots of books, lots of support. And last but not least is really through that self-reflection, identify where it is that you are productive. Where do you find the most joy? Where are you able to have the most and strongest level of accomplishment? And those typically will tend to be your strengths. So if we advance to the next slide, what we wanted to do here was open it up and have some words that are in this word cloud for you to be able to think about, to resonate with. You know, as you are having these moments of self-reflection, as you are diving deeper into understanding what are the values that are important to me, that will take you to that next point to saying, okay, what is my unique point of difference, right? And you know, what is, I'm gonna put that advertising hat on, what is my unique selling point? What makes me me? And what is something that I am so good at and I am confident about how good I am at that particular task, at mastering the skill set, about being able to own, you know, one of these character pieces. What we want to do is we're going to give everybody 2 minutes, and we would love, love, love for you to take a first pass at writing what is your strength, what is your unique points of difference, and begin forming that strength statement. There's 2 parts of this activity. What we want you to do is write down a few of those things that what it is that you are good at. After you have a list of about 3, we want you to then take that and form a sentence. Share an example. Why is it that you are a great leader? Do you have a specific example, a moment in time that really defined and set you up for success? So we're going to give you 2 minutes to, again, write down your top 3 words, and then second, write down a statement and provide an example of a moment in time that you were able to demonstrate that particular talent. Amazing. So the music has come to a close. So I think our time is up for that second activity. What we wanted to do here was really highlight the formula that you can use to set yourself up for success as you're going in and opening up the interview process. Ultimately, that formula, it is a combination of your personal strength plus a specific example. I have the opportunity to interview and hire and develop and build teams. And I always find it really interesting, right? When you are able to open up the conversation and say, okay, great, tell me about yourself. I want to learn more about you. What makes you you? What is it that you are good at that sets you apart from others? Tell me more about that particular strength. And we'll have people that will be able to share that out. And really being able to prepare for that second part of that question. Now that that's an example of your strength, can you share with me a moment in time, an example? How is it that you came super equipped, and how did you conquer, to that task, or how did you really demonstrate that skill set? Tell me a bit more about that. I think often, going into interview processes, it's a moment where it could be high stress, a little high anxiety, and making sure that you're super set up for success, that you're super grounded and you're prepared and know what you're good at and have some of those solid examples to demonstrate that will really be able to make sure that in that moment you can effortlessly share your unique point of difference, what makes you you, and why you are a good fit for that organization or for that brand or for that company. During this time, we had the opportunity to jump in and share a bit more about myself, talking about, filling in the gaps and defining what is it that, you have within your personal values and how those personal values ultimately relate into building a bigger career. We spent some time talking about mindset and also going in and diving a bit deeper into your unique point of difference. What is that personal strength that you have? In the breakout activities, there is going to be a shift. We're going to jump in and we're going to put some activities in, specifically in your breakout rooms around the idea of feedback. So I know that you guys will absolutely enjoy that and have a lot of fun talking about feedback in smaller coaching seminars. But in closing, if we actually, I'm going to ask you ladies, Chelsea, please advance a couple of slides. There was a book that I did want to share with everyone. So going back to my personal story, my personal moment when I think about my career, I had a friend of mine give me this book, The Alchemist. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, if you've read the book before. Okay, I see some great choice recommendations. I think some have read it or are familiar. And I think back to a specific moment in time where, my friend gave me this book, and they wrote a beautiful, beautiful message on the inside cover. And what I always go back to is, as I'm developing my career, as I am developing these unique moments in time, and say, okay, how do my values resonate with my professional space? And where do I want to go? Where do I want to continue growing? Where do I want to continue developing? This is always a book that I will go back to. I think that every time that I read it and reread it, I always pull out unique pieces that give me inspiration, give me clarity, and really help to define that journey. There's one quote here. There's only one thing that makes a dream impossible to achieve: the fear of failure. And just in closing, what I wanted to share was, ultimately, you are truly the driver behind your career. It is about that mindset and adapting this mindset where failure doesn't mean no. No means not right now, right? And when you can get on that other side of fear and say, you know what, I'm a little nervous, I'm a little scared, but I'm going to do it anyway. You have the opportunity to craft and create and build the career for yourself, that you've truly dreamed of. So that being said, I wanted to thank you for allowing me the time to share some of my personal journey, some pieces that inspire me, a bit more about myself, and go through some of those fun exercises and activities. I am going to turn it back over to the team to share more about the rest of the session and go into some of those breakouts. But thank you so much, everyone, for your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tiana. Can we just thank Tiana in the chat? I already see some things coming in, but always an awesome time to be able to hear from someone that's in our network, to see ourselves and their story. I mean, the whole story, starting with being a cashier and asking someone a question. I mean, I was truly really inspired. I know a lot of times I'm a little apprehensive about talking to strangers, but you never know what can come of it. And so I really love that reminder, Tiana, and thank you so much for leading us through all those really insightful activities that we hope that doesn't stop here. This is all a work in progress. So it's all going to give you some homework. But next, we're going to continue talking in our breakout room. So we talked about values, we talked about strengths, and one of the points that Tiana made was asking your friends and family, right? Asking the right people for your strengths, because we can't always see all of our strengths. Sometimes we have blind spots. So we're going to discuss that a little bit more with our mentors in our breakout rooms for a good amount of time. And then we'll come back, do share outs in our closing as usual. So are we ready for breakout rooms? I should see them coming on your screen shortly, and I will see you all back here soon. So welcome back, everyone. We hope that you enjoyed your breakout group. And so this is our share out portion. So we would love, I think we have 4 breakout groups. So we would love to have a representative from each group just share some of the insights that you learned or something that we talked about. So we'll start off with my group. Who would like to share?
Ms. Mara, are we looking specifically for the young adults to share or anyone?
Great question. I would love one from each. So Tamara, if you want to share, and then Bren, if I can put you on the spot, if you feel comfortable sharing, I would love to hear from you.
Okay, yeah, sure, absolutely. Lots of great discussion in our room. I'll say even as a mentor, I jotted down a few nuggets to take away, but just talking about reframing questions to make sure you're getting, good, valuable feedback, I think is really key when you are, starting to progress in your career. So I'm appreciative of that conversation.
Yeah, and to piggyback there, some of the things that I wrote down are using prescriptive language, of framing what you'd like to hear about to elicit more constructive feedback, and doing a invited dress rehearsal of this perhaps before going into the conversation with some of your trusted friends, family, coworkers, asking how can I make a bigger impact? And focusing on objective feedback rather than personality feedback, especially as a woman, which was really great for me, especially because some of the things I wanted to ask about, if I really think about it, would be personality questions, and to steer away from those.
Awesome insight. Thank you, Bren. All right, group 2. I'm not sure who that was.
I was group 2, and I'm trying to see everybody because AJ, I hate to put you on the spot, but I loved what you shared about your process around receiving feedback and the culture of feedback. So would you mind sharing a little bit of that?
Yeah, sure. So thank you. It was like a really insightful group. It was nice. I sort of resonate with the fact that even as a mentor, I was writing down what people were sharing. But we had a bit of a discussion around feedback and kind of what it was like going into a culture of an organization where feedback is sort of very common and sort of happens on the daily. And that was something that I hadn't really experienced at other organizations and throughout my school. So for me, it was just, I had a big learning lesson around coming into a conversation of feedback with curiosity and really understanding sort of where the feedback was coming from and not trying to take it personally, even though that's very difficult, but just being curious about where the feedback's coming from and kind of how it will help me in my role and help the wider team to sort of get to where we're trying to go. So always asking questions and understanding, like, is it coming from a positive place, which hopefully it is, and how I can sort of take that on board. So curiosity is a big one for me.
Thank you so much. And then Myra took us back to high school. But Myra, would you share a little bit? We talked a little bit about strengths and how you identify those to support a larger group.
So I told the group a little bit about how I like to celebrate the small wins as it leads up to a bigger picture. And we just talked about how celebrating the small things is really important and motivating others as a group. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. And then we also just, sorry. it was mostly about that, and we also shared a little bit more about how others identified their strengths, and I think that's all.
Yeah, that's all. And you killed it. No need to be sorry. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
stepping out of your comfort zone and jumping in. It means a lot to us. Thanks so much, Jasmara.
Of course.
Yes, thank you so much. And we all definitely get nervous. This is a large space. It's even the facilitators, even myself. I don't know if y'all notice my voice shaking sometimes. So no worries. You did it and we appreciate it. Thank you so much. So group 3.
Where are you at, group 3? That's my group. Who would like to share from that group?
I can share. I really appreciated when we discussed, so it's important to be receptive to feedback, but there may be times when you want to stand up for yourself when you think that when you think that you did something correctly or in a way that if you were confident about something, I guess. And so it's important to provide examples and make sure you're standing up for yourself in those circumstances, especially as women. And also just if you are unsure about the feedback you're receiving, you can maybe cite another source and go to somebody else that you know you work closely with. And you can talk to them and say, do you agree with this? And can you give me your perspective before you go and provide your examples in disagreement with the person. And then we also discussed about just the importance of not taking it personally. I know that it can definitely, I've in the past taken feedback and it's just altered my confidence level, but I think I've been better about not taking it personally because it's just meant to help you.
Jasmara, did you want a mentor to share from that group too?
I would love if there's a mentor who's willing to share. I would love to hear from a mentor as well.
Awesome. Any mentors want to share? Tamika, you gave us a gem there at the end. Do you want to give us that one again?
Sure. So what we talked about was eliciting feedback and sometimes how the feedback may not be from a positive perspective and how can you respond? And so my example is to understand the feedback. So the example I shared was if someone shares that you were being aggressive, change the conversation. We always say from the positive is ask, are you saying I'm being too confident in sharing? Or am I being too exact? So that way you're finding those positive adverbs to replace the negatives. And that way you can recalibrate and help the person that's speaking to you understand that you were doing it out of a space of good intent.
Absolutely love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Tamika. Great. And Sophia's group, last but not least.
I'd like to share a tip that I learned that was new to me. So a mentor shared that after like an internship or like a job, like they would try to ask like the managers or coworkers what they thought your strengths and weaknesses were. And I thought that was really cool because after like internships that I've had or like little small projects that I've worked on, I never thought of like asking that question. I just always tend to ask like my family members or my friends. So I thought that, wow, I should have done that. And now I'm thinking of like doing that now that I'm almost going to like end like this job that I've been working at. And now I'm like really curious to ask my manager like what she would say my strengths and weaknesses are, since I also learned that one of my values was like growth. So that like tip would really help me grow as a person.
Yeah, I would also like to share. One of the mentors, I believe it was Brittany, mentioned a book called Crucial Conversations. And I found the PDF and like just kind of like browsing through because I think it's really important. If Brittany would like to share some more, but it's basically about how to have crucial conversations. when emotions are running high and stakes are high, and just like how navigating uncomfortable conversations, because they will come up. And yeah, thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. And you covered it. It was you covered it great. I was telling the team, the group, that it was one of those that I read early on in my career. And it's something that I just keep in my back pocket as you, at some point in your career, are going to have to give feedback, and you're going to have to receive feedback as well. And one of the other things that we talked about was when you are giving feedback or receiving feedback, using that active listening skill. A lot of times we like to listen so that we can respond and that so we can rebuttal, but that keeps us from being able to actually hear what the other person is saying, right? And so one of the tips that I like to do is when I'm giving feedback or when I'm receiving it is in the middle, and this is a very tactical action, but taking notes, right? Taking notes on what you actually are hearing the other person say, so that when you go to respond to this, you are regurgitating exactly what they said, not what you think they said, not what you interpreted, so that when you go to have this conversation, you're on a level playing field. We have a clear, concise understanding, because clarity is kind, right? We have a clear and concise understanding about what each of us said, and we can have that conversation from there. And that kind of helps to bring down the anxiety a little bit, bring down the angst a little bit of the conversation, and move into it with open hearts, open minds, and open ears. So.
Thank you so much. So many gems from that. Thank you, Group 4. Well, speaking of feedback, it's time for our young adults to give us some feedback. So we want to hear from you all about how you're feeling after this session. So we're going to have a few poll questions that are going to pop up on your screen. If you can take a few moments to fill those out, and then we will close out as we are approaching our time. So our first question is, how confident do you feel about identifying your work values and strengths after this session? Looks like we're good there. For question 2, how confident do you feel about asking for and receiving feedback after this session? Awesome. And in which ways did the mentors, both panelists and breakout room mentors, maximize your experience in this session? And this is a all that applies question. And then for our final question, we are so excited to see so many of your faces here today, so many signups, and we want to know what inspired you to attend today so that we can make sure that we continue doing more of the same in the future. And this is also a select all that apply. All right, I think we're good. Thank you so much for answering those. And so I'm going to breeze through a few announcements, but if you're connected to us, then you will hear about all of these in multiple different avenues. So coming up, steps to success. Young adults, are you looking to determine the next step in your educational or professional journey and wanting to receive one-on-one guidance from a career coach? Make sure to sign up for Steps to Success career coaching, and the deadline to sign up is this Sunday. And all the links will be dropped in the chat. So make sure you open those in a separate window so that you don't lose them when we log off. Next, we'll have Explore Interest, Help People Be Well coming up on February 7th. So join us then to hear from mentors whose roles make a collective impact on helping others be well. We'll have mentors representing healthcare, pharmacy, nutrition, life coaching, and other industries. And last but not least, this is a series. So our next Power Talks presented by Kerastase, Own Your Story, will be on Wednesday, February 22nd. So we want to see everybody back that was here today. We're really excited about this topic. We're going to be talking about creating and forming your own compelling and unique career story. So all that you are and how that is unique and how that ties into your career story. So super excited for that. And also, if you attend all 5 sessions, there is a special incentive from Kerastase. So just gonna leave that there, do it that way you will. But we hope to see you at all 5, but especially go ahead and register for the next one. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I had a blast. This was so much fun. Thank you for just taking the time to do some introspection and connection with us. And we will see you at our next step of event. Have a great rest of your day.